So chapter 3, from logotherapy to Ikigai, how to live longer and better by finding your purpose. What is logotherapy? A colleague once asked Viktor Frankl to define his school of psychology in a single phrase, to which Franklin replied, well, in logotherapy, the patient sits up straight and has to listen to things that are on occasion hard to hear. The colleague had just described psychoanalysis to him in the following terms. In psychoanalysis, the patient lies down on a couch and tells you things that are on occasion hard to say. Franklin explains that one of the first questions he would ask his patients was, why do you not commit suicide? Usually, the patient found good reasons not to and was able to carry on. What then does logotherapy do? The answer is pretty clear. It helps you find reasons to live. Logotherapy pushes patients to consciously discover their life's purpose in order to confront their neurosis. Their quest to fulfill their destiny then motivates them to press forward, breaking the mental chains of the past and overcoming whatever obstacles they encounter along the way. Something to live for. A study conducted by Franklin in his Vienna clinic found that among both patients and personnel, around 80% believed that human beings needed a reason for living, and around 60% felt that they had someone or something in their lives worth dying for. Now, what exactly is logotherapy? See, logotherapy was uh, started by Viktor Frankl. He was a psychologist, and this is time of World War II. So he was captured in one of the Nazi concentration camps near the Poland border, and so the chances of survival in those Nazi concentration camps was like 1 in 28 or 1 in 30. So out of 30 people or 28 people, only one would survive. So he had done a lot of research in his youth days, and he was publishing some paper on a particular topic. I don't remember that topic, but yeah, it's there in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. So if you can get a hand on that book, it's a nice, not a very big book, 150 pages. It's an interesting read. So when he was captured by the Nazis, somehow all his research papers and all, they burnt them. So he was very disturbed that I have spent my entire life on this paper, and now I am in a Nazi concentration camp with so much of torture, and you see people dying. I mean, it's inhumane conditions, all those Nazi concentration camps. What we've heard, probably we were there in one of our past lives there, I don't know, but yeah, what we've heard and seen in photos and all, it's very, very sick. So in one of the concentration camps, he came up with this idea that I need to look at beyond the camp. So what is my reason to live? So he made it very clear to him, to his mind and himself, that I have to get out of the camp. And when I get out, I have to publish my research paper. So he started writing, scribbling on walls, leaves, whatever he could get his hands on in that camp, in that Nazi concentration camp. He used to just write and, was repeating everything what his research paper was all about. So he found a reason to live. So in an adverse situation, a situation where you see people dying, there is torture happening to you, you still think of a reason to live that is beyond the camp, beyond the torture. So how logotherapy has been linked to Ikigai is, since Ikigai is about finding your purpose or finding your Ikigai in life, when you will, Ikigai is nothing but something you are good at, something you love, something that can be paid for, and something that the world also needs. So that's an Ikigai. So logotherapy also talks about what is the reason to live. Why is, like they said, the first question he asked, why don't you commit suicide? So you need to find that reason to live. So he found that reason in that concentration camp, that yes, I need to live, I need to survive. होता क्या है लाइफ में, जब एडवर्स सिचुएशंस आते हैं ना, वी गिव अप. आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट सरेंडर, आई एम सेइंग वी गिव अप. वी गिव अप और वी सरेंडर में बहुत फर्क है. Surrender can also be that, okay, I leave it to God, I leave it to destiny, whatever will happen to whatever is meant best for me. And you're open, but your mind is not shattered. Your mind is clear कि मेरे साथ जो हो रहा है, probably it's meant to be, even if it's pain, even if it's pressure. Because the coin will come with the pain side as well as the pleasure side. But whereas when we talk about, giving up में हमारा कॉन्सेप्ट अलग होता है कि हमने हार मान ली, कि अब तो गए, अब तो बेटा टाटा बाय बाय टाइम आ गया. So even in adverse situations, if we can look beyond, that is to find a reason to live, to find a reason to go beyond that adverse situation. If you can do that, that will give you the power to, go through the whole experience without being bogged down or without having this thought of giving up. So look for a reason which is beyond whatever is happening to you. There you will find what is my purpose. There you will find what is it that I want to do. You see these recently, COVID, a lot of people coming to help people. In spite of, I remember first lockdown where everybody was scared of COVID, but there were so many volunteers, especially the front line. They risked their lives. A lot of people died. They risked their lives, but they were there to help people. So they saw a reason beyond what was actually happening. And even if that meant a risk of life, and yes, in a lot of cases, they actually lost their lives, but that purpose was bigger than what was at that time, because an experience will be time-based. But when you go beyond that, ultimately that experience will end, because that experience is in your space to teach you something. Sara time wo nahi rahega. So you need to go beyond and look for a reason to go beyond. We have
Papa, check two cameras on Mama's iPad also on the computer.
I have a class. Can I continue? It's getting recorded also. Hello.
I want these.
Okay. Okay. The search for meaning. The search for purpose became a personal driving force that allowed Frankl to achieve his goals. The process of logotherapy can be summarized in these 5 steps. A person feels empty, frustrated, or anxious. The therapist shows him that what he is feeling is the desire to have a meaningful life. The patient discovers his life purpose at that particular point in time. Of his own free will, the patient decides to accept or reject that destiny. This newfound passion for life helps him overcome obstacles and sorrows. Franklin himself would live and die for his principles and ideals. His experience as a prisoner at the Auschwitz showed him that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. It was something he had to go through alone without any help, and it inspired him for the rest of his life. There are 10 differences between psychoanalysis and logotherapy. So, in psychoanalysis, the patient reclines on a couch like a patient. In logotherapy, the patient sits facing the therapist who guides him or her without passing any judgment. In psychoanalysis, it's retrospective, it looks to the past, whereas logotherapy looks towards the future. Psychoanalysis is introspective, it analyzes neurosis, whereas logotherapy does not delve into patient neurosis. In psychoanalysis, the drive is towards pleasure, whereas in logotherapy, the drive is towards purpose and meaning. Psychoanalysis centers on psychology, whereas logotherapy includes a spiritual dimension. Psychoanalysis works on psychogenic neurosis, whereas logotherapy also works on nogenic or existential neurosis. Psychoanalysis analyzes the unconscious origin of conflicts, instinctual dimension, whereas logotherapy deals with conflicts when and where they arise, spiritual dimension. Psychoanalysis limits itself to the patient's instincts. Logotherapy also deals with spiritual realities. Psychoanalysis is fundamentally incompatible with faith. Logotherapy is compatible with faith. Psychoanalysis seeks to reconcile conflicts and satisfy impulses and instincts, whereas logotherapy seeks to help the patient find meaning in his life and satisfy his moral principles. So there's a very clear distinction mentioned here between psychoanalysis or psychology, whatever we do with a lot of psychologists, and logotherapy. So one is talking about the past, one is talking about the future. But yeah, what he's clearly said, in his line, that one thing nobody can take from you is to choose your attitude in any set of circumstances. Remember, everything in life is an event, and has a consequence. And that consequence is linked with your choice. आपने क्या choice choose की, उस choice का एक consequence होगा. That's your destiny. So if you are in a situation where you made a choice and you've got to a consequence, that power of choice is always with you. Having no choice is also a choice. Like when we did in the start of the class for Saturday and Sunday, neutral was a choice you took. There is no judgment in any choice. Choice is choice. It's an individual choice. So that is always with the individual. So हर एक choice का एक desired outcome होगा, that is the consequence. वो choice की power हमेशा आपके पास होती है. वो choice मैंने fight करना है, मेरी choice है. वो choice मैंने surrender करना है, मेरी choice है. वो choice मैंने give up करना है, मेरी choice है. So a lot of people say that मेरे साथ ऐसा हो रहा है, They are not respecting their choice. The moment you start accepting and respecting your choice, you will realize the power of your choice. So जो भी आप कर रहे हो, and when you are coming from a premise of being aware of what is happening around you, then you are coming from a premise and then you are aware of the choice you are making. और हर एक चॉइस के साथ एक कॉन्सिक्वेंस है. अगर आपको कॉन्सिक्वेंस चेंज करना है, आपको चॉइस चेंज करनी पड़ेगी. I cannot have a different consequence for the same choice. If I'm eating junk food, unhealthy food, fatty food, I will get fat. That's a choice. If I change the choice of my food, chances are I will not get fat. So be aware. This power is always with you in any circumstance, in any event, anywhere in the world. Wherever you are, the power of what you want to do, your choice. Even now, in a lot of situations, what happens is we say, यार उसको बुरा लगेगा तो मैंने ये choose कर लिया. Remember, you made that choice. Considering my relationship is more important, this is secondary, let it be. So don't judge your choice, but respect it and value it. जो भी आपकी रीजनिंग है चॉइस की, it's okay. Never judge your choice or never judge anybody else's choice. But choice को वैल्यू करो, choice को रिस्पेक्ट दो कि हाँ यार ये मैंने चूज किया है, अब जो कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस है ओके, दैट्स पार्ट ऑफ द एक्सपीरियंस, आई हैव कम हियर टू लर्न. सो वो चॉइस का फ्रीडम कोई आपसे नहीं ले सकता. सो लोगोथेरेपी talks about using that power of choice and creating a reason in the future so that then you are more inspired to take that action, to make that choice, to achieve that purpose, which is beyond all events, beyond all happenings which are happening in your space. Fight for yourself. Existential frustration arises when our life is without purpose or when that purpose is skewed. In Franklin's view, however, there is no need to see this frustration as an anomaly or a symptom of neurosis. Instead, it can be a positive thing, a catalyst for change. Logotherapy does not see this frustration as mental illness, the way others form of therapy do, but rather it considers as a spiritual anguish, a natural and beneficial phenomena that drives who suffer from it to seek a cure, whether on their own or with the help of others. And in doing so, to find greater satisfaction in life, it helps them change their own destiny. Logotherapy enters the picture if a person needs help doing this, if he needs guidance in discovering his life's purpose, and later in overcoming conflicts so he can keep moving towards his objective. In Man's Search for Meaning, Franklin cites one of Nietzsche's famous aphorism: he who has a why to live for can bear with almost anyhow. I repeat, very powerful words. Nietzsche, a German philosopher, did a lot of work during his life, 1844 to 1900. He who has a why to live for can bear with almost anyhow. Based on his own experience, Franklin believed that our health depends on that natural tension that comes from comparing what we've accomplished so far with what we'd like to achieve in the future. What we need then is not a peaceful existence, but a challenge we can strive to meet by applying all the skills at our disposal. Existential crisis, on the other hand, is typical of modern societies in which people do what they are told to do or what others do, rather than what they want to do. They often try to fill the gap between what is expected of them and what they want for themselves with economic power or physical pressure, or by numbing their senses. It can even lead to suicide. Sunday neurosis, for example, is what happens when, without the obligations and commitments of the work week, the individual realizes how empty he is inside. He has to find a solution. Above all, he has to find his purpose, his reason for getting out of bed, his ikigai. Interesting, we were talking about what to do on a Sunday, and the book said it all. कि संडे तो बेटा क्लास होएगी ही होएगी. It's amazing how things work. Amazing. But yeah, we need to fight for ourselves. And one of the most important things जो उसने अभी मेंशन किया, सबसे पहले हमें ये क्लैरिटी बहुत जरूरी है, हमें क्या चाहिए, व्हाट इज इट दैट वी डिजायर. बिकॉज जब तक हमें यही नहीं पता कि हमें चाहिए क्या, तो हम करेंगे क्या. इमेजिन देयर आर टू बिग शिप्स on a destination. The first ship is told that you have to reach from, say, Mumbai to London, and you can take any route you want. So it's expected that they will take the whatever is the best route they can think of, and then they will reach London. The second ship is not told where they have to go. The goal, the reason, the objective is not there. क्या वो शिप कहीं पहुंचेगी? नहीं, उधर ही घूमती रहेगी. हो सकता है शायद लंदन लंदन भी जाए, अमेरिका भी जाए, but it doesn't know where it has to go. So in life, we need to be, that's one of the most important things, is to be clear, mujhe kya chahiye, what is it that I desire. I mean, not in this book, but yeah, in Magic book, I remember there were 6 headings. Your personal desires kya hai, money mein aapke kya desires hai, relationship mein aapke kya desires hai, health mein aapke kya desires hai, 5-6 spokes of life. So please be very, very clear. I'll post that thing again from Magic book. Please go through it and make an Excel sheet or write it down, whatever is comfortable. चाहे 3-4 ही लिखो, but लिखो मुझे हेल्थ में क्या चाहिए. What is it that I desire? This thought came to me and I was surprised. Today afternoon, I was thinking, I did not take lunch. So I was thinking, what should I eat? It took me 5 to 7 minutes to decide what I need to eat. And then thought came to me right now when I was reading it. Bloody खाने में भी हमें ये नहीं पता होता हमें क्या खाना है. Just a thought came right now. But yes, that's reality. हम लाइफ की बात कर रहे हैं, अगला मील क्या खाना है उसके लिए हमें 5 मिनट चाहिए सोचने के लिए. So start with small things. Get clarity on small things. That's a lesson I have learned right now. Start getting clarity of small things that you desire on a daily level. अपने दिन में 4 चीजें जो आपको चाहिए. For example, meal is one thing. You want to visit a friend, anything. Just take 2 or 3 things which I'm probably going to do from tomorrow, and be clear. मुझे ये चाहिए और मुझे ये करना है. And then sit with your pen, paper, or your computer and write down what is it that you desire in this life. तभी आएगा इकिगाई। मुझे चाहिए क्या, पहले वो तो डिसाइड करना पड़ेगा ना, किस रूट से लेना है, कैसे करना है, वेदर आई लव इट, वेदर आई एम गुड एट इट, दैट्स ऑल सेकेंडरी, बट चाहिए क्या। हम ये बुक पढ़ रहे हैं, द फर्स्ट थिंग आई आस्क्ड यू गाइस, व्हाट इज द टेक अवे यू आर लुकिंग फॉर। सो लाइफ में ये चीज क्लैरिटी होनी बहुत जरूरी है कि व्हाट इज इट दैट आई डिजायर। सो योर डिजायर लिस्ट, योर विश लिस्ट should be there, should be clear. Work with it every 15 days or every month. I don't say do it every day. महीने में एक बार बैठो या 3 महीने में भी एक बार बैठो. I generally sit after a quarter, 3 or 4 months and sit. But yeah, first time sit half an hour, 45 minutes. I'll post this in the group for I think 1 or 2 newcomers are there. So just go through those 3-4 pages and make your desire list. And those who have not, please make again. And those who have made, time to revisit it again. So that's part of today's work to be done. So I will post it from the magic book, areas and your desire list. So अगर आपने नहीं बनाया है तो बनाओ, अगर बना लिया है तो उसको good time it's come to your space, it's come to your awareness that you need to review it. Surprising, the first time I made a list, 2019, I need to meditate 10 minutes every day. This is 2019. It's gone much beyond that. But I was reading it. I was like, oh यार, मैंने तो उस टाइम पे 10 मिनट ही बोले थे, अभी तो आधा आधा घंटे की भी हो जाती है. It's not every day, but yeah, there are times when I do. So it's amazing how it works. So you know, when you revisit it again and again, 3 महीने 6 महीने बाद, then you realize, yes, you are actually going towards that. And there is no harm. अगर एक चीज पूरी हो गई तो get a new one. That's how life evolves, ना? I feel empty inside. In a study conducted at the Vienna Polyclinic Hospital, Franklin's team found that 50% of the patients they interviewed were experiencing some degree of existential crisis. According to logotherapy, discovering one's purpose in life helps an individual fill that existential void. Franklin, a man who faced his problems and turned his objectives into actions, could look back on his life in peace as he grew old. He did not have to envy those still enjoying their youth because he had amassed a broad set of experiences that showed he had lived for something. Better living through logotherapy, a few key ideas. We don't create the meaning of our life, as Sartre claimed, we discover it. We each have a unique reason for being, which can be adjusted or transformed many times over the years. Just as worry often brings about precisely the thing that was feared, excessive attention to a desire or hyperintention can keep that desire from being fulfilled. Humor can help break negative cycles and reduce anxiety. We all have the capacity to do noble or terrible things. The side of the equation we end up on depends on our decisions, not on the condition which we find ourselves. In the pages that follow, we will look at 4 cases from Franklin's own practice in order to better understand the search for meaning and purpose. So, case study on Viktor Frankl. In German concentration camps, as in those that would later be built in Japan and Korea, psychiatrists confirmed that the prisoners with the greatest chance of survival were those who had things they wanted to accomplish outside the camp. Those who felt a strong need to get out of there alive. This was true of Frankl, who, after being released and successfully developing the school of logotherapy, realized he had been the first patient of his own practice. Franklin had a goal to achieve, and it made him preserve, persevere. He arrived at Auschwitz carrying a manuscript that contained all the theories and research he had compiled over the course of his career, ready for publication. When it was confiscated, he felt compelled to write it all over again, and that need drove him and gave his life meaning among the constant horror and doubt of the concentration camp. So much so that over the years, and especially when he fell ill with typhus, he would jot down fragments and keywords from the lost work on any scrap of paper he found. We'll stop the reading here. We'll continue and finish this